Pitch Perfect is honestly the best female-driven comedy I've seen in the longest time. Anna Kendrick is this freshman starting college and she's into this DJing scene, but there's not much for her there at the school in terms of that. But her dad's like, you're getting a free education here. Learn to like it, join a club or something, and maybe I'll help you out with the DJing thing a year from now. So she ends up joining one of the a cappella groups at her school since she just happens to be a good singer. And the group is filled with a bunch of personalities. Like, you have the obvious lesbian, the fat girl, the control freak, the friend that can't stand up for herself, the quiet, shy girl, the sex addict, and a few more. And you're with these characters for an entire school year, so hopefully you'll like them. And they're the kind of group that sticks with old classics, and their leader refuses to change things even though they're constantly getting told, hey, your stuff's boring, try something else. So of course it's up to Anna Kendrick to throw some bass into that trouble and try to convince them to come up with a new melody. Now, cliche plot aside, I had a lot of fun with Pitch Perfect. This is like the Footloose remake for me. Like, I saw the trailer, I thought it would be bad, and then I actually saw the movie and I got a pleasant surprise. They make the most they can out of this premise and they have fun with it. On campus, they have these 4 a cappella groups that occasionally have these riff-offs. That scene was pretty cool. I like the way they did tryouts. They had all the singers do their thing all at once while each group simply just watched in the auditorium, and then they got to pick who they wanted out of the bunch that tried out. And the way that montage played out for everyone trying out, like, the way that was put together, I thought that was fantastic. And I'm surprised the movie managed to juggle so many characters as well as they did. Like, not only do they have 8 singers, they have the guys from the rival team. You have Anna Kendrick's love interest. They even have the roommate's love interest as a character. And I actually have to elaborate on the love interest a bit. Like, it's a guy that uses his love of movies to get a girl. I mean, seriously, that was impressive. And I mean, even though there are a lot of characters, they're not all super developed, but they're more than just one note. The entire cast just revels in their screen time, and they make the most of what they're given. And comedically, this movie hits that high note, and like the jokes were clever and surprisingly raunchy at times. Like with the baloney girl towards the beginning of the movie, I was like, okay, I guess you can do that and get the PG-13 rating. And since all the characters are so different, if there's one person that doesn't hit the right pitch for you, there's another one right behind them to just come out and crush it. And I think everyone's going to come out of this movie liking the quiet girl the most. And I know I should probably elaborate on the rest of the cast, but it would just take too long, and this review will probably be long enough as is, but I will say the entire cast was great. And also, Elizabeth Banks and John Michael Higgins were fantastic as the commentators. At least I can mention that much. Few films are without flaws, of course. Some of the jokes were a bit off-pitch and threw the movie's tone off a bit. For me, the movie felt silly overall, but grounded for the most part, which I liked. But there were a few moments where it was like, okay, that was a little too over the top. And some of the clever editing that was in the first half of the movie that I really liked didn't really make it to the second half to help it feel as fast-paced as it was. And I wish they fleshed out Anna Kendrick's roommate a bit more, because all I got out of her was, I'm only nice to Asians, which that kind of had me shrugging. And I'm sure my sexuality is going to get called into question after I say this, but the unnecessary over-sexualization of women is something that bugs me in general. Like, why did I have to see Anna Kendrick's cleavage in half her scenes? Like, don't get me wrong, there's nothing flat about those, but still, it was just really distracting. Like, the group finally does something different, and instead of dressing like airline stewardess like they normally do, what their alternative is to put on mini skirts and button down blouses, and it just seemed to send a really bad message. And I mean, I was able to let it go for the most part, but it's still something that kind of stuck with me. But this movie is such a crowd pleaser, you'll hardly give a pitch about its flaws. So if you want to see Pitch Perfect, you'll have a good time. If you get dragged into it, you'll find something to like about it in the first 5 minutes. And here's like a really nerdy thing for me, but I love it when movies put their own spin on the logo intros at the start of movies. Like, you see the Universal thing at the beginning, but then they're harmonizing the beat that goes with it, and I love that. So for me, this movie gets a 3.5 out of 5. See it and have fun with it. And if you did see the movie, tell me what you thought of it. I welcome comments, both positive and negative. And if you like this review just now, why not subscribe so you can get plenty more content.